again, I'd be okay. You know, but you can get to the point now. I'm sure it happened to others before me. I'm sure other people got tired of hearing me before I got tired of hearing myself. But a person can't talk enough, you know. So I understand that. I don't blame you. Really, speaker meetings were designed for people that were new or nearly new or open meetings for family members anyway.
I didn't actually know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a lot of history books. I mean, if you read about that, like there's A Comes of Age, not that it matured or was a finished product, but that Bill Wilson and Bob and all those thought it was time to give that to all the people, not them, you know. And the three legacies after Unity Service Recovery. But you read that book and some of the shenanigans they did. You know, they printed up Phony Stock Certificates to sell stocks, to have money to publish a book, to sell books, to have enough money to keep going. Serious heart attack, and it's got the AA triangle on it. It's AA approved literature.
Tell me that story.
Well, that's the story.
What was it?
AA Comes of Age is the name of that book.
Okay.
And but it's an interesting book to read. Or there's an AA. I can't remember if it's AA Archives or what, because I'm computer illiterate. I'd like to have someone be low tech and no tech, but really I'm just low tech. But a guy that I know named Alan Hennessy. There's a lot of articles there, and he printed out a 2 or 3 or 4 page article about Ebby Thatcher, the guy that goes to see Bill Wilson. Ebby Thatcher had a hell of a time staying sober. And part of it was they had a tremendous resentment of Bill Wilson and Bob Smith. Because he goes, what the hell? You guys get to be the founders. And Bill Wilson, you didn't be shit if I didn't come over to your house.
Yeah.
Why am I not a co-founder? And part of that was, the old idea that Bill Wilson thought that they ought to have AA. He started in those Oxford groups, but that was too general. Well, for the longest time, Ebby didn't want to leave those, so that was another issue for him. But the way the article was written, his biggest issue was that he really didn't think he could stay sober if he didn't have a woman in his life. And so, according to the article, Bill Wilson and his wife Lois really tried to get Ebby to come to AA and get Ebby to be sober. And he stayed sober for about 6 years one time when he had a wife. Okay. And then his wife died. And then he went back drinking. Okay. But there's a lot of interesting things about that. You talk about things, and that's that's not anywhere near the magnitude or importance of things we're talking about at dinner. The idea being that a lot of people don't know, and I sit in a meeting and they're talking about that every deal and all that, and I thought, I don't think it's, that examine your motive. There's a lot of new people here, nearly new. Just, who is this going to help if I say, did you all know that guy that carried that message to Bill Wilson didn't say sober himself? And not only that, did you know that's a pattern in AA? There's a lot of people that help other people get sober, but they don't stay sober themselves. But I thought, there's no use for that. I didn't need to say anything in that meeting and didn't. So all these.
But the stock certificate.
Yeah, there was a guy, I'm trying to remember his name. He's listed in there because they didn't have shit for money.
Okay.
So how are they going to raise any money to sell the book? So one of their, people don't realize either. These guys were big money guys. They were smart guys, but they were big money guys.
I went to Wall Street. I got flown there last year during the International Finals Rodeo. It was 2 billionaires that were head of Tiller Capital. And there was a dickhead that I met 2 or 3 weeks before at Global Gaming Expo, which is, we're ranked number 1 when it comes to gaming, us natives.
I'll bet.
2 weeks later, I go to Arizona Indian Gaming Association. Knew a bunch of people there, and this guy's like, I know you, man. You're a big dickhead, blah, 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 blah. And it's this, it's just a normal white guy. Yeah. So he's like, you know what, man? I met his friend and his girl, the night before, and they're like, this guy is super nice, man. Like, I don't know what you're weirding out about. Like, he fights, he speaks to a lot of at-risk youth, like, this is actually a really good guy, man. Like, relax. So he said, maybe we just got off on the wrong foot, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we got to talking about business, and we wound up kind of making amends right there. So he said, hey, I would like you to come out and meet my business partners. And anyway, long story short, I went to the business meeting, and, I felt like a cheerleader. They were trying to get drunk, take advantage of me. And they took me down to a Broadway musical, gave me, tried to wine me and dine me, and really all I wanted was bagels and pizza. So the billionaires left me alone with this one guy, and I get to talking to him a little more. He said, we got you a hotel, you want to go by there? I said, I just kind of want to walk around, man. I mean, you're more than welcome to leave, though. And he got to talk, and I could hear in his voice that he kept sharing the big book. And I said, you're a friend of Bill W's, aren't you? He said, yes, I am. He goes, you want to go catch a meeting? And that to me, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But you were talking about those guys, Abby Thatcher, and all those guys. They were big financial gurus and whatnot.
Well, yeah, and so one of them was a guy that said, hey, I got an idea. We'll print up these stock certificates. Typically, how all of the things that alcoholics and addicts do to make things okay that ain't, don't all go away when you sober up.
Sure.
So they go, we'll sell these certificates, and then really when we get the books sold, then we'll give them money. I mean, we're not going to defraud them, really.
Yeah.
Then somebody said, well, what if we don't sell the books? I said, well, we'll sell them. And that didn't work out, and they went to Rockefeller, and there's a lot of stories about Rockefeller not giving him any money, and he was glad he did, it was the whole deal. But what he did do is he was the first guy to buy, and I don't know how many of those books he bought, but he said, I'll do that. I'll buy your books. And he bought those AA books and gave them business partners. I mean, he was impressed with AA. That's why his Bill Wilson come to that deal, and those people donated money to him, but he did. He wasn't giving them nothing. But I thought, well, if you have a book to sell, I'll buy it, give it away. But this idea that these guys were all pure of heart, did this or that, not true. And I'm not dissing them. It's not a contest. But the fact of the matter is, they couldn't do any more than anybody else could do. Claim progress, not perfection.
Sure.
Wouldn't matter if somebody's trying to be a saint by Thursday or not. You ain't gonna get there. Shit runs deep for a long time.
Yeah.
So you just go, okay. So I liked them better after I read that. Oh, so this might be some real guys. Maybe his name should have been Shenanigan Flanagan. I don't know. All good. But my thing this week has been, it should be mostly fairly easy for people to have some level of ability if they can just freaking figure out their phone is smarter than they are. I mean, we can be smart, we can do stuff, but really? Come on now.
I started dating a girl. I've actually been going to
Just lately?
About the past 6 to 8 weeks.
Ah,
I met her in an MMA gym. She is a normie. She goes to, she lives up there.
you like her pretty good?
Yeah, I do, because I have some stuff actually this time in common with her, like sports. But I've introduced her to Dakota. She started going to Dakota. I took her to the Roundup about a week and a half ago and introduced her to Al-Anon. She's been picking up some of the literature. She's been going to weekly meetings. And
Huh. Cool. Well, you never know where those things land either.
I didn't want to be enabled.
Well, I'm sure, like most people, man or female, they can't make you do too much you don't want to do.
You're right.
But I think we all need friendship, companionship, and all that. But nothing wrong with sex. And so, sometimes those things really go a long ways. Sometimes they don't, but it sure seems to help if everybody's kind of got some kind of way to take care of themselves. They're not trying to make each other the higher power relationship or something like that. It took me a long, long time to figure out that the great news was Nancy was with me because she wanted to be, not because she had to be, and not because she didn't have a whole bunch of other choices. Clearly, not that it's a contest, but of the two of us, she's a lot higher on the attractiveness scale than I am. And she's smarter than I am. And she's really nicer. She's just not that mean. She's still got a lot of meanness in her.
I think that's what I always used to think in meetings. I'd see that calmness, that pleasant in other people's minds, and I would be like, sometimes I want that. When people see me coming, they're like, oh hell. And he's kind of like a bull in a china closet, He's running a gun. He's like Yosemite Sam,
Well, the reason I laughed or chortled or something was my mother used to tell people, I'd say, what the hell's wrong with that boy? She said, I don't know. I think when he came out and the doctor slapped him in the butt to make him cry, he got mad. He ain't over it yet. I was like, God, that could be true. But really, I get a daily reprieve from some of that. I'm only one or two bright ideas away from a disaster.
Right. The more and more I get sober, I feel like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm like a second away from doing the wrong thing. Is that
probably because you are. Unless you're different than me.
I'm like, you don't want to do that.
But see, my struggle is I do, but I know it's not the right thing to do. It puts me in a mind vice. So I've been working on this concept. The easiest way for me to save face is to keep the lower half shut. And so my sponsor that I had for 28 years, Judkins, would say this: wow, Bob, when's the last time you got in trouble for keeping your mouth shut? I go, But sometimes I just feel a need to tell somebody something they're not doing right, or you're being a dumb shit or something.
One of those things is, what is it when they say, don't you know who I think I am?
Yeah.
But the thing is that when somebody either new in the program or even that's a normie though, and especially in Vegas, bright lights, a big city, a lot of entertainers, and they're kind of telling me who they are and kind of giving me that kind of once over and trying to lure me into a trap, and then finally I bite the bait. And a year ago, whenever my trainer really started getting this sickness and all that stuff, I was losing it. Shit. I'm pretty sure there's probably people that probably called the cops on me. But anymore, I'm just kind of like, how nice. How nice. I don't have to respond.
Now, my new big root word is really. No. Oh, really? Yeah. Really? Because I don't really think really. I'm just trying to be on the light and polite. I'm not trying to build any friendships, and if they are, it's okay, but I'm not. So I just gotta stay out of a lot of shit. My deal is not that I haven't gotten into stuff, not that I might not later today or tomorrow. But really, the real deal is there's a lot of things I don't have a mental defense against besides the first drink, and so I just don't go there.